Another group pushing to get the vaccine early, food workers. Plants across the U.S. saw major outbreaks early in the pandemic. Joining me right now is the CEO of Smithfield Foods, Dennis Organ. Dennis, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Can you tell us where you are in terms of that rash of coronavirus cases that hit your South Dakota operation?
Well, Merry Christmas, Maria. Thank you so much for having me on. It's certainly been a challenging time, and we have our workers that are in desperate need of these vaccinations. And as you mentioned, we're heartened to hear that the CDC is prioritizing America's food workers with the second round of vaccinations. It's 30 million vaccine doses that are going out to essential frontline employees out of the 87 million total. And of course, this pandemic has been simply devastating for our industry, thousands of our really courageous food workers. And I really do want to emphasize the heroic efforts of these folks. They've been getting sick for, really just trying to provide for their families. And as far as Smithfield, what we've done for our employees, we've provided them with extensive personal protective equipment and offered additional paid leave for sick employees. But the steps have unfortunately been insufficient in many instances. These folks have been through a lot. Frankly, we might bear some responsibility for that, but we know that our Smithfield family is dedicated and resilient, and the better times are ahead. And if I may add quickly, as the new CEO and president of Smithfield, I'm personally promised that we're going to do better. And the first change under my leadership is transparency and at times brutal honesty. And the truth is that our industry, in addition to the outbreaks that are happening at our plants, our industry poses a serious threat in effectively bringing on the next pandemic, with CDC data showing that 3 or 4 infectious diseases come from animals, and the conditions inside of our farms can sometimes be petri dishes for new diseases. Hog farming also causes immense harm to our air and waterways.
Well, Dennis, that's what I want to ask you about. That's what I want to ask you about, Dennis, because Smithfield Foods is the world's largest pork producer. You are in an incredible, an incredible spot to have incredible impact in the United States and across the world. But China acquired Smithfield. Your parent company is now based in Hong Kong. Can you tell us how it works? There was a post recently about the way your company operates. Are the hogs raised in the United States and then sent to China to get slaughtered and produced and packaged?
Yeah, well, Smithfield Foods is owned by a Chinese conglomerate, and the pigs are they're slaughtered in the U.S. and we have an export market, which we think is a very necessary part of a thriving economy to have open trade. There is so there's been some leveling off of demand that we've seen in China. There was a African swine fever outbreak that happened, or a round of them really, where there was greater demand, and now they're rebuilding.
Dennis, I was told that in China, there was this African swine flu that affected so many pigs that there were 1 million pigs in the river dead. They didn't know where to get rid of the pigs that were dead. And then other sources were saying, well, you can't get sick even if the pig had African swine flu if the pig was dead. So they cut up the meat as well. How are Americans going to believe that the meat is safe if they're going to China to get slaughtered and packaged? What kind of processing securities do you have in place to assure Americans that their pork is safe, Dennis?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have extensive safety protocols in place for our essential frontline employees, from personal protective equipment that they wear to sanitation of our equipment and our facilities. And I think that our company's track record really speaks for itself in that regard. But in terms of the impact that this industry has on the world, we really want to kind of embrace a brighter future, and with some of the impacts that our industry is having, we're actually pledging now $500 million a year starting in 2021 to mitigate some of these impacts, because what's happening in China and what's happening elsewhere, there's a lot of concerns. A lot of people are worried about the impacts that we're having,
and we've
not only in biosecurity.
We've covered this. We've covered the China story so closely. Shanghai International Holdings purchased Smithfield for $4.7 billion. Shanghai then changed its name to WH Group. Dennis, we appreciate you joining us, and we will be watching Smithfield Foods. We'll be right back.
No one goes deep.